We are the Liberty Intelligence Organization Network.
And I am your host, the Captain, is what you can call me. And basically this is our special report. I'm going over the Bill of Rights and the importance of these rights and the importance of the fact that the guys who wrote them understood they were important, not only because they were insiders of the secret organization that calls itself the New World Order, but also because they decided that they weren't going to stand with evil, and in fact they were going to try and do some good for the world, and that's what they did with the Bill of Rights. It's like the Magna Carta. These are good ideas being put on paper and being implemented as law in order for the future of society to extend itself into a freedom, free-willed manner. Free marketplace, free independent thought, free individualism, free all types of stuff. But again, you have to work for it. For freedom, you have to work for freedom. Freedom isn't free, is I think the famous line that they use, the tagline that people like to use. But basically what we're going over here is the Bill of Rights, and if you've been paying attention to the world around you in the past couple of months here, you'll understand why it's so important for the Bill of Rights to get talked about, because these are the foundations of what protects individual liberty. Again, there can be group liberty that's protected through a foundation or an organization or a government. Or a government can be protected through its own legislation. But again, this legislation, the Bill of Rights, these first 10 amendments to the Constitution of the United States of America, outline defense of individual liberty, individual freedom, the ability for you to be you, to have your own thoughts, to carry your own weapons for self-defense, to be safe from illegal searches and seizures, to have your own religion, to go tons of stuff. And it even outlines state rights and local rights. And then my favorite is the Ninth Amendment, because the Ninth Amendment says, and anything we may or may not have mentioned that includes individual liberty or things that might happen in the future, well, those are special too, and the government can't infringe on those either. And that's my favorite, because it's like anything we forgot to mention, that's covered too. So that's really, I think, the most important. But again, as I've mentioned when I was doing the Bill of Rights one, we only have two left, number 1 and number 2, and both of them are highly regulated, which is infringing upon them. So they're all infringed. And the other ones, National Defense Authorization Act, basically killed a lot of them. But I'm digressing into that. And I'm just doing an outline and an overview of what I've gone over so far, because I'm going to get into something real quick. So I talked about that, and then I gave you the Founding Fathers and their connection to the Illuminati and Masonic stuff, and how that all ties together, and how a lot of people like to say that and then demonize the ideas of the Constitution. Well, first of all, the Masons weren't fully infiltrated by the Illuminati back then. The Illuminati was just starting up their global takeover in 1776. May 1st is when they publicly really started their global takeover, and it's infiltration. They infiltrate organizations that already exist and then use monopolistic power to keep those organizations in control while destroying their competition until there's only 1 or 2 left. That's called a duopoly. If there's 2, it's a duopoly. If there's 1, it's a monopoly. The root of the word one, and again, I don't want to break out into an English lesson here. But I talked about UFOs and Luciferianism, and mentioned that their connection, and the fact that the connection is the deception that man can become God through technology, through evolution, through whatever. But man cannot become God. That's the truth. But they like to propagate this deception, and that's what the New World Order guys really believe. And their belief is, in the past it was always, if you sacrifice children, if you sacrifice, give blood, if you do this, you do that, blah blah blah, you do certain things, you can become a god. You eat from the tree of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. You too can become a god. That's the deception. And that's what you have to understand. The evil of it all is the same deception. It's the same lie being propagated. And so I mentioned that, but a lot of people might hear that and they might not believe it, because a lot of the world leaders, when they're on public stage, or when you read about them, it's always, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm one of the mainstream religions. Never would they admit that they're Satanists, but nonetheless they actually are. So I wanted to give you guys a quote just to emphasize this point. And this is from a world leader who talks about, well, I love this quote because it talks about the New World Order and Luciferianism in the same sentence, literally. And this comes from a world leader, a guy who was part of the United Nations, and he was actually the director of a committee within the United Nations called the Planetary Initiative, and his name is David Spangler. And he once said No one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation. David Spangler, Director of the Planetary Initiative from the United Nations. So there you go. A world leader, part of the United Nations, part of a committee within the United Nations, talking about worshiping Lucifer and the New World Order in one sentence. And the New Age movement also, and that's tied into all that. The New Age movement is like the fake conspiracy movement. And it's not a conspiracy movement, it's a truth movement. And it's really not a truth movement, it's a liberty movement, it's a freedom movement. We are freedom fighters, folks. So I basically want to get that. I don't even need the papers here. Let me do a time check real quick. So now basically what I want to go through real quick, since what we're talking about is the Bill of Rights here, and the main, barriers 1 and 2 are already infringed upon, with regulations on free speech zones and all this other stuff, and the guns regulations and all that stuff. But now they're under full-fledged assault, full-fledged attack. And again, you have to understand the last two. So what happens when they're gone? Boom, that's it. Game over. They can put the shackles on you, and no longer is there anything to say that they can't do that. So let me break it down here. The Second Amendment. Let me first off just say it all out for you. It's really short. It's a really short one, straight to the point, really concise. A militia, being necessary for the freedom, or being necessary for the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is the Second Amendment. Now I'm going to go into analyzing it in depth here for you. So a militia, let me start off right from the start. A militia, what does that mean? What does a militia mean? Well, a militia means an armed citizenry, people with weapons capable of defending themselves, owning weapons, and knowing how to use them safely and securely for. Okay, a militia, that's what a militia is. Being necessary, that's necessary. An armed citizenry is necessary for the security, for the safety and security, for the safety and defense, for the safety and feeling of security of a free state, a free state built around liberty, where people have individual liberties. So there you go. A militia being necessary for the security of a free state. There you go. An armed citizenry being necessary for the security and safety of a free society, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The right of the people who make up the armed citizenry, that is everyone, because if you're a citizen, you're supposed to be part of the militia, you're supposed to be willing and able to stand up for yourself in defense. The right of the people to keep, to own, to have, to be in possession of, to keep, and bear, carry with them, have on person, have with them, to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. No infringements, no regulations, no laws, no rules, no nothing to infringe you. That's what it says. That's the rule. That's the law of the land. It's supposed to be, but again, it's already being regulated and infringed upon. So, but basically, I just wanted to lay that out there, in-depth analysis of the Second Amendment, and a little, clarification and organization and evidence of the fact that the guys running the world, some of them, not all of them, but some of them do worship Satan. They believe in this Luciferian ideals, and they really believe in it. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I'm going to be going into the attacks on the Second Amendment in the later segments here. So, and as always, thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay free, and stay informed.